You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. John, as always, it's great to have you here in the studio.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Always great to come down to the bottom of Oak Lane on the sun-kissed Isle of Sheppey to see you.
Well, I was hoping, John, we could perhaps start off by you just giving our listeners perhaps an introduction into what the Sheerness Town Team is all about before we move on to the particular area this evening.
Well, the Sheerness Town Team is a group of volunteers, I suppose a hard team of about half a dozen, but we've got more than 15 people who are sort of friends of the town team. And what we do is we try to make Sheerness more popular by staging events to encourage people to come down to shop and use the traders, the shops in the town, and just to bring a little bit of pride back to the Isle of Sheppey and to Sheerness in particular.
Now, I know that you want to talk about the Sheerness classic music and motor show, so I was hoping you could give us a little introduction and then we could then go on to it in a little bit more detail.
Well, listeners may recall that we had a stab in December with the Christmas market, and that was the first time that we'd closed off the high street for any length of time and put lots of stalls into the high street and the Broadway, and that was a great success. And we thought that we'd try something similar. So this Saturday, the 13th, we're staging, as far as I recall, the first Sheerness classic music and motors show actually in the high street. Now your listeners are probably aware that there's a Swale enthusiast club, and they had a very successful meeting on Sunday at Halfway. I went along and that was great, but what we're doing, which is a bit different, is we've actually got the motors in the high street. So we're closing the high street and the Broadway to normal traffic from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Saturday. And then we're also putting a temporary stage in the Broadway where we've got some bands, we've got a singer, and we've got other sort of special surprises coming on. We've also got a children's entertainer, lots of stalls, and it should be a really great time. The actual show itself starts at 10:30 in the morning and goes on to 4 o'clock.
And you were talking all about the classic music and motors show, and there's some special cars actually going to be in it, so I was hoping you could sort of let our listeners know a bit more about that.
Well, we've got over 100 cars already booked, and in fact we're now on to an overflow situation. So we've filled up all the High Street and the Broadway for this Saturday, and we're also going into Beachfields, just opposite sort of McDonald's restaurant there. I don't know an awful lot about cars, I have to admit. I kind of like them when I see them. I used to have a Austin Healey Sprite when I was a bit younger, which unfortunately I crashed, and just wish I'd still got that. But yeah, we've got quite a few really good cars coming up. I mean, one of the ones is actually from Bayview near Laysdown, and this is owned by Derek Wareham, and I went round to see him to take some photographs at the weekend. It's a 1930 Model A Ford, which is strangely it came after the Model T. Couldn't quite work out why Model T comes after Model A, or Model A comes after Model T, but it's making its British debut on display at Sheerness this Saturday. It used to be owned by Baylor University in Houston, Texas, and they had it for 40 years, and they've painted it in their university colours of green and yellow, and it's still in those colours now. It was imported into the UK quite recently, in July 2013, and as I said, is now owned by Derek, who is 73 and just loves it. He went out for a little drive in it the other day, and he said the old girl is going really well. He read about the Sheerness car show in the Sheerness Times Guardian and gave me a ring and said, could I bring it along? So we just sort of jumped at the chance for that. I think there's only about 2 or 3 others of those cars in Britain, and it's certainly going to be the first time, as I said, that it's going to be exhibited in public over here, although it has been exhibited in America. It originally cost $500 to buy, which, to be honest, I think that's really expensive when you go back to 1930, don't you?
Yeah, it does seem that way, yeah.
For people who know about these things, it's got a Briggs body, a 4-cylinder engine, and it runs on a 6-volt electrical system, which of course modern cars have 12 volts. And Mr. Wareham also owns a 1925 Dodge Open Tourer. I want to have a look at that, but that's currently being used by Warner Brothers on a secret new movie, and they haven't even told Derek what it's for, but it should be interesting. Certainly it's a 1925 car, so it's going to be set somewhere around that era, I would have thought.
It must be nice when you if someone wants to use your car in a movie, because not only is it nice that it's wanted, but I think it's nice probably to keep the video footage of it, because you know yourself, you can only take photos of it, but to have it in a film and keep that, it must be nice.
Yeah, it's sort of a one-off sort of memory, isn't it? And he was telling me that before they took the car, they asked him to take lots of photographs of it, which you would expect, but they also wanted him to take photographs of the underside. So he showed me all the pictures of its chassis, and you just think, I wonder why. What are they planning? Are they going to take photos of it from underneath, or are they going to modify it? I'm sure they wouldn't modify a car of that old, but yes. But we've also got, talking of, we'll go from one side to another. That's obviously quite an old car. We've got some modern cars. Well, I say modern cars by that standard. Lots of 20-year-old ones, which the listeners will probably recognise. And something really strange. We've got a Bentley S, which actually goes back to 1959, and it was specially built by Len Wilton, who lives in Gravesend, somewhere around there. And he owned a number of Bentleys and was a member of the Bentley Owners Club, and they would race the Bentleys around Brands Hatch and Goodwood, and he said that he was going to race a Bentley S. Now, in those days, everybody was racing Mark 6 cars, and they told him that there was no way that you could convert a Bentley S to race. And he called their bluff and went away, hammered away in his garage for most of the winter, and a bit like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, suddenly turned up with it and said, right, I'm going to race it. And he went down to Goodwood, and blow me down, he broke the record not once but twice down there, the lap record. And then after that, he sort of mothballed it because he'd made his point, and so it stayed in his garage for 20 odd years, and it's been brought back to life by your friend and mine, Wally Wallace, sort of sheppey musician and former stuntman from Sheerness, and he's going to bring it down on Saturday to show everybody what it's like. It's a brilliant looking car. It's in British racing green, as it should be. It's open top. You sort of have to climb in. There's no such thing as doors on it, and it's just when you go and see it, you will know all about it.
John, we were continuing to talk about the classic cars that are going to be at the show. I think you're going to talk about some more and a trike as well, I understand.
Yes, well, I mean, we were just talking about the the Bentley S, which is a huge machine. It's sort of 400 horsepower and nearly a 7-litre 8-cylinder engine. But there's lots of ordinary cars there as well. I mean, cars like Chevrolets, Mercedes, family favourites such as Morris Minors, Triumphs, and Fords. And we were talking about this when the music was playing, weren't we?
Yes, yeah, we were actually. Yeah,
because some of the Fords and there's a couple of Ford Escorts that I think are going to be there on Saturday. There were so many of them made, and so many ended up in the big car park in the Sky. They were sort of written off or they rusted down. So now the Ford Escorts of yesteryear are actually quite sought after. And I met one gentleman who was displaying one on Sunday, who said he had been offered over £30,000 for his car. That's a Ford Escort, but it was immaculate. We've also got trikes. I just can't believe this. And obviously you can. There are a couple of trikes sort of driving around Sheerness and Sheppey if you look. But I had a call from Kevin Childs, who's a retired paver from Queenborough, and he's asked to bring along his Yamaha 650cc dragster trike, which he's dubbed Yellow Fever. Do you know what colour it is?
Yellow.
Yeah, it's a really good guess. Yeah, it's yellow. He also calls it Kate, which was his mum's nickname. Now, interestingly, because I thought you could buy these trikes off the shelf. This is a really sort of steep learning curve for me doing this, but no, it started off life as an ordinary motorbike, and then it's got a rear axle taken from a 1973 Ford Capri, and also lots of parts from a 1962 Mini, and it just reminded me of that Johnny Cash number song, One Piece at a Time. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's the one. I know the one you mean anyway.
Yeah, where they just sort of build this sort of car out of different parts from different years. And I haven't seen this trike, but I am so looking forward to seeing it on Saturday.
We're continuing to talk to John. We're talking all about the Sheerness classic music and motor shows, and I think you're going to cover some of the other things that are going to be there. Yes,
well, we've also got obviously because it's classic music and motors show, we've got some music as well, and we've got one of our friends, Martin Farbrother from Herne Bay, is coming over. He's known as the Crooner, and he's really good live. He sort of has a great sort of fun and games on the stage, and he's going to be singing songs from 50s and 60s, the Sinatras of this world. And then I have to admit, I've got my own band booked in called the Rocking Decades, to see how that goes, and that's again going to be sort of some rock and roll fun with music from the 50s, 60s, almost up to the present day. Some sort of Cliff Richard, Stones, Beatles, and perhaps a little bit of Oasis, a little bit of Rock Around the Clock, and it'd be really good to get anybody sort of coming along there to dance and show us how to do the twist and other things like that. If we've got a few sort of jivers, that would be sort of the icing on the cake, I think.
I think you're next going to talk a little bit about Paul Harris and a song, I think.
That's right. Well, we were talking about the entertainment on Saturday, and Paul Harris, who you probably recall is a former rival, I suppose, BBC Radio Kent presenter, but a well-known comedian as well, who's now living on the Isle of Sheppey. He's going to be helping us. He's going to be comparing the show and the entertainment for us, and I went down to see him. He's actually preparing a new Victorian musical show at the Criterion Theatre, which, if anybody doesn't know, it's that little teeny-weeny theatre in the Bluetown Heritage Centre, run by Jenny Herkett. And they've got a brand new musical starting this Wednesday. So that would be great to go along if you like that. But he has discovered an old musical song which used to be sung well, obviously in the musicals, which dates back to 1939, and it is called, would you believe this, Daniel, it's called Sheerness by the Sea. Did you know Sheerness has its very own song?
No, I didn't. Not until you said it anyway.
Well, the music was written by somebody called Dando. Don't know much about Dando, but the words were written by Wally Brailsford. Now, presumably you've heard of Wally Brailsford?
No, I don't think I have. Or I might have done, and just can't recall it at the moment. Anyway.
No. Well, I certainly hadn't, but I've Googled him. I thought, if there's any solution at all, Mr. Google will have it somewhere. Now, there is a Wally Brailsford, and I think it might be this chap who was the first manager of the Ritz Cinema in Sheerness. Any idea which was the Ritz Cinema?
No, I haven't.
Well, you will kick yourself for this. It's what I used to know as the Isoldo, and you might well have recalled it as Woody's nightclub in Wood Street.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, that opened on Monday, the 15th of March, 1937. So the year is about right. Wally was born in Leicester and went into the entertainment business straight from school. He also served in the army during the Great War of 1914-1918. And after he was demobbed, he became one of the best-known entertainers in the Midlands and appeared before His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, not once, but twice. After that, Wally gave up the stage to join theatre owner Louis Morris's staff and went on to open and run 6 of the company's largest theatres, moving to Sheerness from the Regal in Bow, East London, to open the island's newest cinema there. He believed in creating a homely atmosphere in his theatres, and according to the programme for the first night, went on to offer guided tours of the projection room. So a man of the people. Now the first show, this is sort of a memory test for all the listeners. It included the national anthem, of course, the band of the Royal Engineers playing live, British movie tone news, which came in every night, I suppose, and a film called OHMS, which I'd never heard of before, but it starred Wallace Ford and a certain John Mills, who went on to become Sir John Mills. Tickets. Any idea how much cinema tickets would cost in the 1930s?
No idea.
Well, there were 6p. Well, I say 6p. 6d, old pence for the front stalls, going up to 1 shilling for the back stalls, 1 and 3 for the rear circle, and an almighty 1 and 6 for the front circle. And other films coming along also included Susie, starring Jean Harlow, Head Over Heels with Jessie Matthews. These, I hasten to add, I don't recall. This Will Make You Whistle from starring Jack Buchanan, and Pennies from Heaven with Bing Crosby, who is somebody, yes, I do recall.
Just before that track was mentioned all about a song for the island, Sheerness by the Sea, and I was just wondering roughly what it was like.
Well, I haven't heard it played yet, although Paul Harris and his team are recreating it for the Criterion Theatre starting this Wednesday. But I've looked at the sheet music, and the words, I think, just sum up what Sheerness and Sheppey is all about. First one. If you're thinking, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to sing it, but first one. If you're thinking of a holiday, there's a spot where all is bright and gay, on an island not far away, where there's sunshine all the livelong day. See, it has a certain sort of je ne sais quoi, don't you think?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Chorus, you're more than welcome to join in with the chorus. So come along with me to Sheerness by the Sea, where the air is simply grand. Here on Sheppey's Isle, if you want to smile, there's joy and laughter, hand in hand. It makes you want to come to holiday, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it'd be interesting to hear how it's put together and sung as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully, I'm going to go down to the first performance on Wednesday. I think it's in the afternoon, 2 o'clock, and that should be an eye-opening experience.
Well, I was hoping before you go, John, if you could just refresh our listeners all about the car show and when it is, and also any useful contact details as well.
Okay, well, the Sheerness Classic Music and Motors show is this Saturday, June the 13th, in Sheerness High Street and the Broadway. It's a great chance to make shopping more fun, and also a great way of taking a trip down memory lane to look at your favourite cars like E-Type Jags, Porsches, Bentleys, Rolls Royces, and the Morris Minors and Triumph and Fords of yesteryear. The show runs from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. The roads are closed from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. There is live music in the Broadway from 11 a.m. And if you want any more details, or in fact, you have an extra car that you want to try and bring in, they all have to be booked up in advance because each car has an allocated space. But please contact Chris West, who's organising it for us. Chris West his mobile number is 07841 598 076. That's 07841 598 076. Or you can email him at the rather long email address, all one word, here it goes, classicmusicandmotors@gmail.com. So big long email address, one word, classicmusicandmotors@gmail.com.
Well, John, as always, I'd like to thank you very much for coming in for one of our updates on what you're doing at the Sheerness Town Team.
Well, thank you very much indeed. And we've got some more events happening in August to tie in with the Sheppey Carnival, and hopefully I'll pop along and tell you more about that as soon as we've got those confirmed.
Yeah, that'd be really good, John. As always, John, thank you very much for coming along. That is John with our regular update on the Sheerness Town Team, and of course mainly focusing on the Sheerness Classic Music and Motor Show right here at the Monday Night Community Show this evening.